Hello everyone, and in today's session we'll be discussing about Hadoop IO. In the last session we have started with basics of Hadoop, what is mean by Hadoop, and what is the relation between Hadoop and MapReduce, and data analyzing with Hadoop. What is the input format of data, how the Hadoop gets the input data, and next to that is scaling out, and next to that is design of HDFS. So these are the topics that which are designed in the last session. And in today's session, we will be discussing about Hadoop IO. And let me read the topics. And today's session, we will be discussing about the major topic Hadoop IO. And the subtopics of this are first one is data integrity, and the second one compression, and third one serialization, and fourth one file-based data structures. So this is an overview of today's session topics. Okay, so first we are starting with Hadoop IO. Hadoop IO is the major topic, and in this, all these four will be the subtopic of this Hadoop IO. See, like in data integrity. So what we are going to learn from data integrity is like, since Hadoop holds the data in different blocks, like you will be having a cluster of blocks where each and every block will be holding a data, and duplicate of data replicas will be there. And since Hadoop guarantees that no data will be lost, how that is achieved in data integrity? How come my data is not being lost? How Hadoop makes sure that your data will be available whenever you are required? And next part is compression. See, in compression, you should have known about a few algorithms like compression and decompression, compression algorithms and decompression algorithms. For first and foremost thing, when we comes into our mind is, when we do compression, what are the benefits and what is the advantage that we may get from this compression? So when I compress my file, the first thing my file size gets smaller, right? And if my file size is some 512 MB, if I compress it, it will be around 300 MB. So first benefit is the storage space. The first advantage is storage space. It does not require much storage space. It requires less storage space. That is the first advantage. And second, when the file size becomes small, even the large when the file size becomes small, when you're transferring from to and you're transferring the file, the transfer of file will be at little bit fast. The speed will be little bit fast since the file size is little bit slow. Okay. And third, serialization. So it is related to like a sequence file formats, a conversion of files and those things. And fourth one is file-based data structure. So what are the file-based data structures that are supported with Hadoop? And in this session, in this file-based data structure, we will be talking about Apache Avro. Okay. And now let's start with the first topic, Hadoop IO data integrity. And this is today's agenda. Okay. And first thing about Hadoop IO. So Hadoop comes with a set of primitives for data input output. And first thing I want to tell you, like when you talk about a data can be structured, a data can be semi-structured, a data can be unstructured, right? Hadoop even Hadoop has also certain tools which supports structured, which supports semi-structured, which supports unstructured. If you take Hadoop framework, it supports unstructured. And this Hadoop ecosystem is designed and with a set of tools. And for example, if you take Scoop, SQOOP, it supports structured. If you take Apache Hive, HIVE, it supports semi-structured. And if you take MapReduce, it supports unstructured data. So what is the meaning is, if it is unstructured, the data, I mean, what kind of data it is going to hold, that will not be known for the database. That is unstructured. So these are types of data. So here, data integrity. Like as users of Hadoop, we expect that no data should be lost or corrupted in my storage or any process my data with Hadoop. So this is should be guaranteed. And the usual way of detecting the corrupted data, either the data is corrupted or not, is by using the term checksum. Okay, the usual way of detecting the usual way of detecting the corrupted data is by computing a checksum. So that is a usual way of detecting it. What checksum does is it detects corrupted data. Okay. And again, when it is transmitted across a channel, that is to be reliable, right? So if you want to confirm that the data is corrupted or not, that can be done with the help of checksum. And the commonly used checksum is detecting code is CRC32, cyclic redundancy check, which computes a 32-bit integer checksum. And this CRC you should have studied in detail about in your networks. And let us continue the same CRC. Data integrity in HDFS. How data integrity is done in HDFS. That is the next thing. Okay. So HDFS transparently checksums all data returned to it and by default verifies checksum when reading and data. For example, let me take it like if I'm going to transfer a data into my HDFS, when doing it in a file, I will be adding a checksum to it. I will be adding a checksum to it. And once the file is getting verified, then after the checksum will be get removed. And the next time when it is being repeated, the checksum value will be get modified. By this way, I can I can check the checksum. Okay. And thus we have one more called data nodes. In Hadoop, we have two nodes, right? One is a name node and the other is a data node. In Hadoop, we have two nodes. One is name node and other one is data node. It is something like a master slave node that we have discussed here. Okay. So data nodes are responsible for verifying the data they receive before storing and doing a checksum. And when the client reads the data from data nodes, they verify checksums as well, comparing with one stored in the database. So it is going to compare. It is going to compare the checksum. It is going to compare the value with the database. And here, I mean, when a client write data, it sends to a pipeline of data nodes, and the last data node in the pipeline verifies the checksum. And Hadoop pipeline we have discussed in the last class. Last data node in the pipeline. Give me a minute. Okay. And the last node in the pipeline verifies the checksum. Okay. Last node in the pipeline verifies the checksum. And the task of checksum is to detect corrupted data. The job of checksum is to the job of checksum is to detect corrupted data. Okay. Now let's look at this. Okay. If the data node, if the data node detects an error, so then what happens? If the data node detects an error, the client will receive a subclass exception, and which should handle in an application specific manner. And when the client read data from data nodes, that very they verify checksums, right? They verify checksums. And here, since HDFS stores a replica of blocks, since HDFS stores replica of blocks, so just having multiple datas. So there are possibilities like corrupted blocks also can be there, and it has to make sure that different from corrupted blocks and uncorrupted blocks. And if I don't want to do any checksum, if I don't want to do any checksum, I can disable verification of checksum, and this is the method we have called set verify. Okay, so this is a method we have set verify. This set verify will help you to false. I mean, will help you to pass from the checksum method on file system, and you can even disable this file system check verification. This is data integrity. And next part is local file system. And we have two things. One is local file system, other one is checksum file system. And first we should start with a local file system. See, Hadoop file system performs client side checksumming. That is with the help of local file system. Local file system performs client side checksumming. What does it mean? It means like when you write a file called file name, if you're writing a file called file name, the file system client transparently creates a hidden file. So it is something like where the user knows what's happening. Okay. Where the user knows what's happening. And here. So checksums are good to compute in Java using native code Java libraries, and Hadoop has a few other alternatives for this. And most of the Hadoop programs that we are written that is implemented with Java. And most application there is an acceptable price to pay for data integrity, which offers things that are free to use. And as I told you, it is also possible to disable checksums and to enable checksums. So this is the task of local file system. And second one, checksum file system. See, local file system uses checksum file system to do its work. And this check system file system. So what is the purpose of this check system file system? So this check system file system is just a wrapper around a file system. And the most idiom is file system raw file system. Like what is a file system it is going to accept, then check system file system equal to new check system file system, like how we create an object in a Java. And here the underlying system is called file system is called the raw file system. Raw file system is the underlying file system, and which may be retrieved using get raw file system method. And if an error is detected by check file system when reading the file, if an error is detected when if an error is detected by the checksum file system when reading a file, it will call its method. That method is report checksum failure method. That is report checksum failure method. So this is about checksum file system. So be in short, Hadoop file system has two things. One is a file system and one is a checksum file system. So Hadoop file system has two things. One is a local file system. Second one is checksum file system. And local file system uses a checksum file system to do its task. Okay. And the next task is compression. And you know the meaning of compression and decompression, right? You know the meaning of decompression and decompression. Compression is compressing a file, decompression again, decompressing a file. And file compression, when you do file compression, you will be getting two benefits, as I told you. So first benefit is space. Second, speed and transfer. So these are the two benefits that we are getting from compression. And there are many different compression formats, algorithms that are supported in Hadoop. And each algorithm has its own characteristics. And if you take the compression format deflate, so deflate is a data compression algorithm. Deflate is a data compression algorithm. So this deflate is a data compression algorithm, so which is used and here, and it is a compression algorithm whose standard implementation is ZLIB, and each and everything is a library. It's a compression format used for multiple number of things. If you take as gzip, it is GNU zip. It is GNU zip. So what is that GNU is? GNU is not Unix. That is the meaning of it. GNU is not Unix. And if you take bzip, and if you take the next one, bzip. So bzip uses algorithm called Burrows-Wheeler algorithm. Burrows-Wheeler algorithm. Burrows. It uses this algorithm. And similarly, if you get into LZO, LZO is a Limpelzoo. Okay, Limpelzoo. LZ is Limpelzoo, and it is lossless data comparison. It is Limpelzoo observation, and it is lossless data compression. It is lossless data compression algorithm. And Snappy, it is also a one. It is also a type of data formats. So these are the comparison. These are the data formats that we use in Hadoop. Okay. So we require compression algorithms to compress when the data is being fed into a database file system, and then again to decompress when it is moved from data file system to into a file system. So this is a requirement, or this is a need for compression algorithms. And so what does this codec mean? See, this term codec is compression decompression. That is the meaning of codec. So codec is compression decompression. A codec is the implementation of a compression decompression algorithm. Implementation of a compression decompression algorithm. In Hadoop, we represent this as a compression codec interface. Okay, in Hadoop we represent this implementation in compression codec interface. And here you can see a small example of Hadoop compression codec. If I'm using this deflate format, then the compression codec is org.apache.io.compress.default codec, gzip codec, bzip2 codec, lzop codec, snappy codec. So in this way, we will be using compression and decompression techniques into our algorithms. And if you take this like LZO, the LZO libraries are GPL license, that is general public license, and that may not be included in any Apache distributions. So this is compression and decompression in Hadoop. Okay. So compression decompression streams. Next will be compression and decompression streams with compression codec. See here, a compression codec. Compression codec is again decompression algorithm has two methods which will allow you to easily do decompress and decompress. And first one, and to compress data written into an output stream, we use a create output stream. We use create output stream. We use create output stream. And the method to create a compression output stream is compression output stream, to which you can write your uncompressed data that can be compressed. And reverse, conversely, to decompress the data, we use create input stream. And conversely, to decompress the data, we use a create input stream to obtain compress input stream. And we have two more things called compression input. We have two things: compression input stream, compression output stream. This compression input stream and compression output stream are similar to java.util that we use in packages. Okay. And the most important thing about this is one thing called sequence file, which we'll be talking in the next slides. And next one is native libraries. And Hadoop. Hadoop has native implementations of certain components, but for performance reasons and for non-availability of Java implementation, it supports a few more native library files for compression and decompression. And for performance, it is preferable to use a native library for compression decompression. So these are the native libraries that is available in Hadoop, like a deflate, whether Java implementation, native implementation, and what is the Java implementation, native implementation. This table shows you the availability of Java native implementations for each format, and compression and input splits. When you talk about a split, then you should talk about MapReduce. Okay, so whenever I talk about the split, then I'll be relating with the MapReduce. So MapReduce. So when considering how to compress data that will be processed by MapReduce, it is important to understand format and splitting. For example, consider that let's consider that we have an uncompressed file stored in HDFS whose size is 1 GB. And with an HDFS block size of HDFS block size of HDFS block size of 128 MB. Okay, so we have an uncompressed file stored in HDFS that size is 1 GB and block size is 128 MB. And now the file will be stored. How many blocks we need the file has to be get stored? And file will be get stored in 8 blocks. Now this file will be get stored in 8 blocks. And the MapReduce job using this file as input, and what the MapReduce will do now, MapReduce now will create 8 splits. MapReduce will create 8 splits. MapReduce will create 8 splits, and this all will be acting separately, like in a parallel manner. Now imagine that now the file is a gzip compressed file whose compressed size is 1 GB. As before, HDFS will store this as 16 blocks. Now it is stored in 8 blocks. And now, like when creating a split for each block, we will not be working, right? Since it is impossible to start reading an arbitrary point in G16. And what does can be done is here the zip format. The zip format uses deflate to store the compressed data. And the deflate stores data as a series of compressed block. And here there is a problem. Like each block is not differentiated in any way, which allows a reader positioned at an arbitrary point. In this case, MapReduce will do the right thing, and that will not try to split the gzipped file since it knows the input is gzip compressed. And this gzip does not support splitting in this case. And that is what this reason gzip does not support splitting. Okay. So if the file, if we have some other file like bzip2 file, and this provides synchronization marker between two blocks and it supports splitting. If it is a bzip2 that supports splitting with MapReduce. Okay, and let us discuss a little more things in detail. And next part is serialization. So it is the process of turning structured objects into a byte stream for transmission over a network. And deserialization is a reverse. It is a process of turning a byte stream to structured object, that is byte streams to structured object. And serialization appears in two distinct areas. One is interprocess communication, second persistent storage. In Hadoop, this IPC between nodes is implemented using RPC, remote procedure call. And this RPC protocol uses serialization to render message into a binary string. And in general, this RPC serialization format is compact, fast, extensible, interoperable. Compact. So uses a compact format, which is the best use of network bandwidth. Compact is the best use of network bandwidth. Second, fast. How fast is it? The interprocess communication forms the backbone for a distributed system. Extensible, like a protocols change over time to time requirements. In some cases it should be straightforward to the things, and some cases it should be changed. For example, like it should be possible to add a new argument to a method call and have the new servers accept the messages in the old format. It is also one problem of this extensible, right? So we need to add a new argument to a method call and have the new service accept the messages in the old format, not in the new format. And this has to be done without the new argument from old clients. So it is also one example for this extensible and interoperable. So it should be capable to support the clients that are written in different languages to the server. So the format needs to be designed to make it possible. Okay. So what Hadoop does, Hadoop uses its own serialization format like writables, and we have one thing called writables. Hadoop uses its own serialization format, writables, so which is compact and fast. So writables are central to Hadoop. These are central core part of Hadoop, and we have one more thing called Apache Avro. So it is a serialization system that is support that supported in it is a serialization system that is designed and support with Hadoop. Okay, now let us discuss about this Hadoop Auro serialization and writables and all these things in the next slides. So it is a writable class hierarchy. So if you see this diagram, you can see some methods. You can see some Hadoop methods. So what are the set of files? What are the set of classes hierarchy that are supported in Hadoop? Like, so what are the primitives that are being supported? Boolean writable, byte writable, int, v int, float, long, v long, double writable, and the others are like null writable, text, bytes writable, MD5 hash. It is MD5 hash algorithm, object writable, generic writable, and this we will be using an interface like writable, comparable, and again an interface, and we even it supports array map writable. So this is a writable class hierarchy which shows you the set of hierarchy, set of class hierarchy that is being used in Hadoop writable classes. And now we will be getting and discussing about serialization. What does mean by serialization and how it works? So here it is serialization IDL. Okay. And we have before this we have the term called serialization frameworks. See, what this is doing is serialization defines a mapping from types of serializer instances into a byte stream, and deserialization against from byte stream to the byte stream to object. This is what serialization and the other one is doing. And this serialization framework is represented by implementation of serialization. We have writable serialization for this. Okay. So there are a number of other serialization frameworks. So when comparing to those things, we will be using one thing called interface description language, which defines, which defines types through code. You can define them in a language neutral declarative fashion. That is serialization ideal. The system can generate types for different languages, which is good for interoperable. So as we have taken in the last example, even a server can get the data in the old format, even the system is updated or the system is modified. And here we have two popular serialization frameworks. There are two popular serialization frameworks that are two popular serialization frameworks are first one is Apache Thrift and second one is Google Protocol. Google Protocol Buffer. So these two are the most popular serialization frameworks, and both are commonly used as a format for persistent binary data. Both can be used as a format for persistent binary data. And here this Avro ideal, I told you about Avro, right? Avro is a ideal based serialization framework designed to work with Hadoop. Next thing is about Avro. Okay, as I told you, Apache Avro is a row-oriented database. Apache is a row-oriented RPC. Sorry, Apache is a row-oriented RPC. Apache is a row-oriented RPC, row-oriented remote procedure call and data serialization framework. And second thing is Apache Avro is a ideal based serialization framework. Apache Avro is ideal based serialization framework. Okay, so Apache Avro is a language neutral which does not require any kind of input data to be get specified in any format. So it was created by Dow Cutting. He was the one who was created this Hadoop, and Avro schemas are usually written in JSON, and this is a higher level language called Avro IDL for writing schemas in C-like language. And we have one more thing called, we have discussed about one more format called Snappy, right? We have discussed one more format called Snappy. This Snappy file format is entirely written in C++. This Snappy file format in C++. And it is a JSON based data encoder. You can even also use this with respect to Python or Java. And the Avro specification previously defines binary format. And here one thing we have that is like if there is sequence file system like Hadoop provides us a number of formats, like a number of data formats to get the data and to process a set of data. And if you're not aware, if you're not known with any specific type of data, what is the data that we are going to process and how it is going to send? For that, we have one file system called sequence file system in Hadoop. So it is again conveying you that it is an unstructured data, how it is going to get blocked. So Hadoop, other than text file, it also supports binary files, and others those binary files and other file formats are called as sequence file system in Hadoop. And here we have two things like a flat file system and other one is serialized key value pairs that we'll be discussing in the next slide. So an Avro data file as a metadata section where the schema is stored. Wait, okay. So Avro data types. Avro defines a small number of data types. So these are the data types that is defined in Avro, and the data types type and description. And when it is null, it represents there is no value. Boolean and binary value either true or false or zero or one. Int, long, float, double, bytes, string. So these are the different data types. As I was talking you about the key value pairs, right? So this is key value pair, and here this will be called as key, and this part this is called as value. This is called key value pairs. So the meaning of it is when it is being enclosed in curly braces, this is called the key, this is called value. If I write I'm going to hold some data A or name ABC. Okay. When I write like this name ABC, now here this will be the key and this will be the value. So key will be the one which will be holding a value. So key will be the one which will be holding a value. So this always comes like with this as like a paste. That is called, we call it as like a key value paste. So that is the one most thing that you should be knowing when you talk about MapReduce and Hadoop. So even in MapReduce, the last example which I've taken is like finding the frequency of certain words in a given storybook, certain words in a given storybook, where you will be trying to find the page numbers. At last, when you reduce it, you can see the word and you can see the number of times it is repeating. So it is a key value pair where you will be getting corresponding value to it. Okay. So this is our data types. Now let us see what some complex data type that is supported in Avro. Array, And map, this is you're working with map reduce map split functions. Here we're talking about key value pairs, types map, values string, record, enumeration, fixed data type, union. So these are some complex data types that is supported in Avro. And Avro MapReduce. So Avro provides a number of classes for making it easy to run MapReduce programs on Avro data. And here we call as Avro Mapper, Avro Reducer. Here we call that as Avro Mapper and Avro Reducer. So this will be defined in Avro package. And to eliminate this key value distinction for input, Avro support provides a data fields where you can ignore this key value pairs. So as we are talking about key value pairs, right? Avro does not require to have key value pairs, even it can process with intermediate data. Still, it is not divided into key value pairs or shuffle. So here let us see a small program. Let us see a small map this program for finding the maximum temperature. So this is a small example which you have taken in module 1 when you started studying about data analyzing with Hadoop. So where we are, our goal is to predict the temperature. Well, our goal is to predict the weather climate. So even we have multiple number of parameters, we will be concentrating only about 2 to 3 parameters, and we'll be coming out with the result. Similarly, type record, name weather record, document weather reading, document. The fields in the document are name, year, type integer, name temperature, type integer, name station ID, type string. So these are the fields that are required from or to get extract from my database. So where I can find the weather climate for the given data set. Okay. Next, file-based data structure. See, for some applications, you need a specialized data structure to hold your data. Some applications which not providing you that the data in the format that you want to use. That is to be get handled by our file systems. And for doing these kind of things, MapReduce produces certain things. MapReduce based processing. So this, let us see how this works. So this is file-based structures. Okay, where our file system should support a flat file system, should support binary file system. In some cases, it also to support other file systems. So that way, that is where we require sequence file systems. So imagine that we have a log file where each log is recorded in a new line of text. Now, if you want to log binary types, plain text is not a suitable format, right? If you want to log a binary file, then the plain text suitable format. And here, Hadoop sequence file class fits for this case, which provides you a persistent data structure for binary key value pairs. And this sequence files also works well as container for smaller files. And HDFS and MapReduce are optimized for large files, so where you can make use of even a binary format files. It can be anything. And to write a sequence file, I mean writing a sequence file, we use a method called write create writer. So it is the method which return a sequence file dot writer instance. It is a method which returns sequence dot file writer instance. And you can even overload. There are multiple overload versions are available. If you take some textbook programs in your textbook, you can see some multiple overloaded programs. And the next most important part of the sequence file is sorting and merging. Sorting and merging. See, even this sorting and merging works when you take a small example like counting the frequency of words. Once if I count it, I will be going to sort before merging it. You can also do that sorting and merging. And the most powerful way of sorting and merging is used MapReduce. Since MapReduce is most useful in that. And we have discussed about this map phase and reduce phases in the module 2. And again, we will be discussing in detail about MapReduce phases in module 4. Okay, so this do the things in parallel, and which partition will do the things in parallel. And if you take this for example, like you can see one reducer can get a single output file. If you need multiple reducers, you can have multiple output files. And here you can see a simple program. I mean, like it is one small program for sorting and merging sequence files. And here we use a map sort and merge function like Hadoop jar, Hadoop install Hadoop, example jar that sort on. It is a command to get the program. And key, as I told you, like format key and everything. And here I have given a set of sequence lines. So this is going to be a sorted and merge. An alternative to use this map reduce for sort merges, you can use a sequence file dot sorter class. You can use sequence file dot sorter class. So it is an alternative for using sort and merge in MapReduce. So which has support of two methods called sort method and merge method. Okay, and now let us see about sequence file format. A sequence file contains this is a sequence file format. The sequence file contains of a header which is followed by one or more records. This is a header which is followed by one or more records. And the first three bytes of a sequence file are the bytes SEQ. So which acts as a magic number, thus followed by a single bit representing the version number. And we have one thing called sync. So this is a sync marker. So which is used to allow a reader to synchronize a record boundary from any position in the file. Each file has a randomly generated sync marker. Each file will be holding a randomly generated sync marker. And in case if the file is enabled, if no compression is enabled, the file will be of no compression. Even you can have record compression. So it's record sync, record sync, record sync. And if you take this particular record, you can have record length, key, and value. And each record is made up of the record length in bytes. If you take this record, you can see each record is made up of link bytes. And again, record length is record length, key, compressed value if it is of no compression. Similarly, you can have a block structure of block compression. This we're talking about sequence file, and this internal structure of block compression. And here, like which compresses multiple records at once, And if you look into it, records are added to blocks. Here, a sync marker is written before the start of every block. Sync marker written before start of every block. And if you look into this block, you can see number of records, compressed key length, compressed value length, compressed values. And these are supported even if you go for map file. These are supported when you go for map file. And what does mean by map file? What does mean by map file? See, a map file is a sorted sequence file with an index of which permitted to look up keys. That is the role of map file. So map file offers a similar interface to sequence file for reading and writing. And the main thing is like it comes with some variants. So map file comes with some variants like a set file, array file. Map file comes with some variants like we can have set file, array file, and Bloom map file. So this Bloom map file is a file. This Bloom map file is a file that supports a fast version of the get method, and it is especially used when it is sparsely populated file. And we have two things like one is a dense populated, one is dense, and one is sparse. So which is heavily loaded, which is lightly loaded. And there are few other file formats that is being supported in Hadoop. And as of now, we are discussing about Auro, right? Auro data files are like sequence files which can be applied for large scale processing. And Auro are row oriented column formats. Let us see what are row oriented and what are column oriented. So row oriented Avro, that which we are discussing as of right now, Avro. And in a column oriented format, the rows in the file, you can have Hive as column oriented, and you can have Cassandra as column oriented. And when you talk about NoSQL, it is entirely different. NoSQL is entirely different. Which does not require any kind of proper schema over it. Okay, so it is up to this Hadoop IO. And the next continuation to this is MapReduce. Where you stop with MapReduce, next continuation to this is will be MapReduce. So studying in detail about MapReduce, how MapReduce works. Give me a minute. Developing a MapReduce application, how to configure MapReduce, how to write a unit test with MRU unit in MapReduce, and how to run on a local data, how to run on a cluster, how to do certain jobs on a MapReduce, and analyze how MapReduce works. So these are the things that we will be covering in module 4. Okay, so this is what up to module 3 about Hadoop IO, Hadoop integrity, about design of HDFS. So the major things about this module 3 is: one, you should be knowing what is called the HDFS design file system, and second, Hadoop IO serialization. I'm not I'll not be get I'm not get into that much depth of each and every topic. I've given an overview of the entire things, and I want you to learn the program. I want you to have a glance on the programs and to get a little bit depth knowledge about each and every topic. Okay, and we shall have a revision for this. And if you have any queries, just get back to me. Thank you.